Hey mama, does your anger or rage ever get so escalated with your kids that your husband has to step in? Do you cry yourself to sleep at night replaying how you treated your kids that day? Do you ever feel like you've become the mean mom you swore you would never be, like everything out of your mouth is rude, unkind, and harsh? Do you wake up dreading the day and feel annoyed by your kids as soon as you wake up? Mama, I get it. I've been there. That is why I want to personally invite you to join me for a free 4-day anger management bootcamp designed specifically for Christian moms like you. Over the 4 days, I will teach you how to uncover the real root of your anger so you can finally stop drowning in guilt and shame. Proactively build your patience so you can handle your kids' big emotions without losing control of your own. Rewire those automatic negative thought patterns and start taking your thoughts captive just like the scripture calls us to, and break those generational anger cycles so your kids can grow up in a Christ-centered home filled with love, grace, and emotional safety. We will meet live on Zoom Monday through Thursday, September 8th through the 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you cannot make it live, don't worry, there will be a replay delivered straight to your inbox. Plus, there will be a giveaway and even opportunities to get coached directly from me during the bootcamp. Mama, you don't have to stay stuck in these painful cycles. Let me show you what it looks like to experience God's peace and transformation in your motherhood. If you want to take the first steps to break the reactive anger cycle, sign up using the link below. Welcome to the podcast, sweet friend. If you're new here, I'm so glad that you stumbled on this episode. In today's episode, I invited one of my past clients who finished my signature program, Calm Christian Mom, to come and share her story, her testimonial, why she joined the program, and the transformation that God did in her life and her current relationship and family dynamic after she finished the program. If you feel stuck, if you feel hopeless, that your anger will never change, this episode is for you. So listen in. Welcome to Emotionally Healthy Legacy, friends. Today I have a guest named Katy, and Katy is a mom who recently finished Calm Christian Mom Coaching Program in the summer of 2025, and I invited her on the show to share her story, why she decided to join the program, what were things like, and the transformation that God did in her life. So Katy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that you are here. I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hi, I'm Katy. I live in Virginia and I have 3 kids, 11 months, 3 years old, and 5 years old. I'm a full-time working mom. I work at a hospital as a clinical dietitian. And my mornings kind of start out around 5:30, get them ready for school. We drive to daycare and then I go to work for 8 hours. And sometimes I stay a little bit later and I pick them up around anywhere between 4:30 and 6 o'clock. And then I come home and we have a long commute, like a 45-minute commute, and get dinner ready. We do bath bedtime, which used to be a really hard time. And then get everything ready for the next day, like packing lunch boxes the night before and then going to bed between 10 and 11 for me. And then it just starts over overnight. My little was getting up overnight as well, but now he's moving out of that stage.
Yeah. And so you are married, but you're in a position right now where you don't get a lot of the support that you need. So share a little bit about that in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah. So my husband, he's been unemployed for over a year and he has some back issues and some mental health issues. And he wasn't able to support my needs with the kids because of his debilitation with his back and just not being in a good place mentally, that I was trying to juggle everything on my own and didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, yeah. So that brings us to the next point. What was going on in your life in the springtime of 2025 that you decided, I need help with my anger? I cannot keep going like this. Tell me what was happening in your life at that time.
I had my 11-month-old in September of last year. And my husband had been unemployed since August, and he had another job in line that we were just waiting for it to come through. It was supposed to pick up where he left off in August, but it didn't. And he was telling me, like, it's going to start. I need to follow up on that. They're just waiting on licensure, credentialing, everything like that. So just months and months went by. And then I just got to a breaking point because he was trying to like get involved in the morning routine when I wanted to prepare my kids for him not being there to help with that routine. So it was interfering with them getting out to the door in time for me to get to work on time. And I would get really frustrated. He would even try to like help with other things. And I was just trying to mentally prepare and physically prepare my kids. And he didn't want to support that. He wanted to be involved. And he just couldn't see my perspective. And I was finding myself yelling at the kids a lot more and yelling at him a lot more. There was a lot of conflict. And I always is the type of person that like I want to resolve my conflict before I go to bed, not go to bed angry. And he never wanted to make time for that. And I was doing all the chauffeuring to the kids to school. And when he was home, like he wasn't. And he was doing day trading and to try to make some income while we were waiting for his job to start. And then in March, around my birthday, I just kind of lost it with him. And I felt like I was done and I wanted a separation. So then I listened to a podcast on my way to work and I came across Elizabeth's program and I was like thinking to myself, like, that sounds a lot like me. I was to a point where I was being really aggressive with my kids and like screaming at them like to the top of my lungs and afraid that the neighbors were hearing me through the walls. I mean, I was like throwing my kids on the bed. I would literally grab them as hard as I could on their arms to like lift them up and put them where I need to put them. I would like grab them by the chin if they talk back to me and just like point their face in my direction to show respect. Or if they called me by name, sometimes if I was breastfeeding my youngest and they were like jumping up on top of me or fighting on top of me with each other, I literally would spank them because I felt helpless because I'm breastfeeding my other son while they're jumping on top of me, fighting, and someone's going to get hurt. That wasn't the mom that I wanted to be. And I would find myself like crying, like myself to sleep because I felt so horrible as a mom. So then I told my husband about this program and I said, my dad put some money in our emergency fund. I think I really want to do this because this doesn't feel good to me. This is not the mom I want to be. And I did the consultation call with Elizabeth and told her everything. I was very vulnerable and just told her everything that was going on. And my husband overheard the conversation and he felt like almost like ashamed that I felt that way. And I like talked to him afterwards and said, it's like anything new that you haven't heard. It's like selective hearing. You kind of hear what you want to hear. I've expressed my needs. And he ended up Googling, searching mental load. And he like found that that's a real thing and like had a better understanding of what I was going through and realizing that he needed to help more with the household responsibilities. And it was short lived, like I mentioned, but the program kind of like helped supplement what I needed in the time.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And you just had really hard circumstances when you enrolled. Things were feeling really hard. There was tension between you and your husband, and the stress and the mental load. You were burned out, feeling overwhelmed, stretched really thin. You had a lot of unmet basic needs and emotional needs. And all of that stress was coming out on the kids.
Yeah. And I wasn't sleeping. My son was getting up every 3 hours overnight, sometimes more frequently than that, but I had no support overnight. So it was just, yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah, the circumstances were extremely challenging, and it makes sense. that you reached those points where you were just past your capacity levels. So tell me a little bit about how was anger affecting your relationships with your 5-year-old and the 3-year-old?
So they were very scared of me. They would run away and reminded me of me running away from my dad because my dad would literally whip us with a belt if we were disrespectful or fighting or anything. And I would run away from him. And it made me think, put myself in my kids' shoes. Oh my gosh. They're like, I don't want them to be scared of me. I have a good relationship with my dad now, but in the back of my mind, I still remember a lot of incidents that were horrible experiences as a kid, even like to the point where like I got I picked up my kid and like shook them. And I remember my dad doing that to me when I had a bad dream of a frog in my bed. And I woke up screaming and he just took me outside in my backyard and just shook me, held me up high like Simba and shook me and was screaming at me, saying, I'm waking up the whole neighborhood. And I probably was like 7, but I have a lot of memories like that. And I don't want my kids to be fearful of me because I want them to be able to come to me and trust me because if something happens later in life, God forbid, and Everly doesn't feel like she can come to me to tell me things about like a boy or relationships later on or something that someone said to hurt her feelings. I want to be there to be able to help her work through those things. And same thing with my kids. I don't want them to have the relationship of or think that this is what they should look for in their own kind of relationships later in life.
Thank you for sharing that because I know that is a very vulnerable thing to share that my kids were scared of me because of my angry reactions. It's just hard to admit, because none
Yeah.
of us moms want to be like that. Every single mom that is listening to this podcast episode realizes that, hey, I'm struggling with anger and it is really important for me to do something about it. Maybe she's in a place to invest and take the next step. Maybe she's not there yet, but she's in a place where she's like, I have an anger struggle and I need to do something about it because it's affecting my relationships with the kids and I don't want it to be like that. I want to make changes. I know that when you joined the program, there was a lot of negative self-talk in the way that you were thinking and feeling about yourself as a mom. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So after like my first child, I'm learning as I go because the ways that your parents kind of like raised you are different these days now. And it was under my impression, just based on what my husband would feed into my brain, is that his mom was able to manage 4 kids all on her own. I should be able to do the same thing. But she also wasn't a full time working mom, I would tell myself. But that was the expectation. I should be able to do everything. And if I can't, then something's wrong with me. So
Mhm.
I was like really struggling. I was trying to find answers through like podcasts, but then I was on social media and seeing all these wonderful photos of all these moms doing all these things. And I think that was the expectation, like the standpoint that I should be following. And in reality, I realize now, like they're all struggling too. They just hide the truth. It's encouraging through the program from all the other moms that speak, realizing you're not alone. So it was like a lot of negative talk. And then I would feel guilty a lot if I made my kid cry or like, I hurt them in any way with my words or calling them names, being a bully or just being aggressive with them. And
Mhm.
I would just feel guilty and that maybe I wasn't meant to be their mom, asking God, why did you give these wonderful children to me when I'm not even deserving of them?
That's such a hard place to be, like with those negative thoughts that just creep in. And we can't control what thoughts come in, but we can control what we do with those thoughts. And if we choose to believe those lies, and the hard thing is like you saw that your reactions were hurtful and damaging, and that's where those thoughts were coming from. And so let's shift a little bit. What fears or hesitations did you have before you joined the coaching program?
Well, there was 100% money back guarantee. So that wasn't my initial thought, because I knew if this didn't work was that I would get my money back. So what do I have to lose? I think my initial fears is, am I going to be able to do all this, or am I taking on committing to too much? Because I'm a person that if I invest in something, invest in myself, I want to follow through. So I was worried that I was going to fall behind because of just knowing how much I was already doing, and just wondering where I was going to fit it in. But you were amazing at being patient with me on getting my assignments in, and being understanding when I was like weeks behind, but I eventually got it all in. And you always gave me some strategies on where I could fit it in to get that time, and advocating for myself with my husband. And he helped support me in that respect, to come home after work sometimes, to like have that window of time before the kids got home and he went to pick them up, so I could work on the assignments. And then I just had to like be diligent on the time I got up in the morning, like tell myself, I choose to get up at this time so I can have time for myself, to be the mom that I need to be for my kids, have more capacity. So I was like making sure I was doing those things, having my why factor in there on why I was
Mhm.
doing it. I think that was helpful.
Yeah, because commitment is a hesitation for moms. They're like, am I going to be able to stick with it? Am I going to be able to follow through and do the work? And here's the thing, most of the time, for most people, when you invest financially and it's a big investment, your mind is like, well, I have to show up. I can't just like waste that money, because for most people, it is a big financial investment. And so, because if it's like $20 a month, we're like, $20 for most of us right now is no big deal, right? Like, I can lose 20 bucks. But when it's a significant investment, your brain is like, well, I need to be committed. This is a lot of money. I need to follow through. I need to show up. And because this is important to me. And so most people, I would say, that do enroll in the coaching program do show up and they do the work because the investment was out of their comfort zone. And when we do something that's out of our comfort zone, it forces us to show up and do the work. Because if something is a low cost, we don't take it seriously. When there is a bigger investment, and the guarantee states, if you show up and you do your part, you watch the trainings, you do the homework assignments, you submit them, you come to the live calls, you check in with me through Voxer, you take action on what you're learning. And if you don't reach your goals that you set for yourself in the beginning of the program, at the end of 12 weeks, I'll give you a full refund. The thing is, if you show up and you do the work, it forces you to do the work. The thought process is like, well, if I show up and do the work, I'll either get the results, or if I don't get the results, I'll get the full refund. And the thing is, like, everybody that shows up and does the work does get the results at the end. So I have 100% satisfaction rate of those moms that showed up and did the work. And they reached their goals that they set for themselves, or they're so much closer to them than when they first joined the program. Share with me, what was it like for you to be part of the coaching program?
Honestly, it was life giving. I looked forward to the group calls, and I had to go out to my car to get the space that I needed for my kids, because they kept interrupting the phone calls when we tried it in my son's room when I was nursing him to sleep. So I would take him out to the car with me and nurse him while we're on these group calls. And then he'd fall asleep while I was in the car. But I had my alone time, and the older two were not barging in and interrupting it. And just hearing the other stories from the other women, and just a lot of things that we could relate on together, was just wonderful. And just having the prayers for the week, the rest of the week, and what we're struggling with still, getting to be able to like talk about what's what we had questions about with our homework or something that was going on, sharing our wins with each other, and just also having you daily checking in on us through Voxer. And I know I like shared a lot of things that we're struggling with that day, and you kind of gave me some feedback. And then the assignments, reflection questions were really great. Like it had you really ponder and really think and put a lot of effort into the answer and like reflect on like what kind of experiences you had and like what was going on and kind of what emotions were going on in your head, and finding Bible verses that relate to the situations that support you as a mom in a positive way. Even just having your journal to write out your I am statements that you do at the beginning of the program and your vision statement, and having that, writing it out, and then writing like, if XYZ happens or when this happens, then, and explaining how you would show up the next time, what you would do differently next time, the way that you want it to happen. It helps to instill your I am statement in your brain. And now that I have it as part of my routine, I listen to positive affirmations during my morning routine while I'm getting ready. And then I recite my I am statement to myself before I go downstairs to get everything ready for the day for the kids to go to school. And it puts me in a more positive position in my brain. And I'm more like lighthearted with my kids, getting them up and saying good morning. And I'm not like roaring at them. It helps you to really reflect on yourself. Okay, what's being curious with yourself? What have you gone 6 hours without eating? Have you drank enough water today? Do you need caffeine? Are you sleep deprived? It kind of like helps you check in with yourself to kind of know what you need and why you're reacting the way that you are. And that's really nice to be able to reflect on that and to be curious, and just remembering that curiosity and anger cannot coexist, and that to be curious and not furious are some phrases that you have instilled in my brain. But just like telling myself that and helps me get through things.
And I would love for you to share the I am statement. What is your I am statement?
I am grounded and aligned with who God is calling me to be. I choose to be adaptive in the circumstances I am given. I am lighthearted, quick to listen, and slow to respond with compassion towards my family. Motherhood is a journey, and I choose balance and progress over perfection. The difficulties I face are only temporary building blocks to make me better. I am faithful in my efforts and intentional in my attitude. I accept help because I love my children enough to give them more. I am safe with my kids, creating an environment full of peace, love, and joy, and encourages grace and truth.
That's beautiful. That is so
Thank you.
beautiful. And you have come such a long way to live up to that
No.
vision that you have for yourself. What is one of the most helpful things that you learned in the coaching program that you still implement today?
I think it was like the last few sections, the mindset shifts and the burnout one, and the positive affirmations. And I think those were the most helpful for me because everything clicked at that point and it was making more sense. And it was also the section on healthy ways to release anger. You gave a bunch of strategies and I like went through them and tried them all. And then it forced me to implement them and help my kids to, when they were struggling with anger themselves, to give them strategies to try. And just the calming exercises like putting your feet up the wall has always been helpful for me. But I think the mindset shifts, I printed it out and put it on my fridge. So I see it every time I open up the refrigerator, just kind of like remind myself of them, because I was struggling before of like even just remembering them and just staying in a negative space. So that has really helped too.
Yeah, mindset is huge. Learning how to take your thoughts captive because control is related to mindset. It's our
Yeah.
mind that wants to control the circumstance situation. Our mindset when our kids are having big emotions, our mindset in hard circumstances. So, mindset is huge. And I have found that most of my clients say that mindset was the biggest thing that they learned that they were able to implement, and that's going to support them to carry things forward. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that your circumstances did not change, they actually got harder.
They got harder.
Compared to when you joined the program, your circumstances were really hard when you joined, and they were hard throughout and even got harder. And
Yeah.
yes, there you experienced a little bit of setbacks because the circumstances were very challenging. And for you, the circumstances were really hard that contributed to some of those setbacks. It's not an excuse for us to blame the circumstances, but they do affect us. They do affect our stress level and our capacity. When things feel really heavy and really hard, unintentionally, we take out that stress on our kids when circumstances are really hard. I kept telling you, give yourself grace. Like you
Yeah.
just have so much on your shoulders. It's not an excuse, but it makes sense why it feels hard to be patient with the kids and you find
Yeah.
yourself snapping a little bit more and asking God to help you through this because only he can change your circumstances and help you through those hard difficult situations. And even
Yeah.
with that, you still did make progress. And I would say for most people, 8 week mark is the turning point. That's when they start to see a lot of shifts. It's like they see some progress moving up to 8 weeks and even like 6 weeks, quite a bit. But at week 8 is when a bunch of things click together and they start to notice significant changes. So I'm glad to hear that. How would you describe yourself as a mom today compared to when you first started?
I would say I feel like I'm the mom within my I am statement for the most part. There are times where I still will raise my voice, but it's for things when they're more so in danger, like if they run into the street or if they carry the baby across the floor and then drop him on his bottom or throwing things at each other that they're getting hurt. It's me raising my voice. I invite them to help me more with cooking and don't get stressed out about it if they're making mistakes because that's how they learn. And I keep telling myself they're kids. They're not doing this to make me angry. They're just being curious with the world. I chose this is important to them. I choose to do this. Showing empathy and compassion with them has been really what I've been
Mhm.
doing. And this is more important. And this is my moment to shine. This is my opportunity to be the mom that I want to be. Having those mindset shifts constantly in my mind, reminding me of that the kids are never doing this to upset you. They just love you and they're just being kids. And that has been
Yeah.
so much more than anything. And I'm learning to accept help. Whereas before, I didn't want to ask for help because I was still stuck in that way where I should be able to do everything. But now I have learned to accept help and I am reaching out to my husband's parents and they're always available to help and willing and lovingly accept it. And I am so grateful. And I'm realizing that within myself, with them taking the kids for a few hours to give me time to take a nap or to get meals together for the week or get things organized, do laundry or clean the bathrooms and stuff or clean the house, do yard work without having to feeling like the kids have to stay inside stuck to a TV. And with my husband not being able to take them to a playground, I would rather them go play with their grandparents where they can do so many wonderful things with them while I get the boring stuff done that needs to be done. And then I have more capacity to even just continue to keep the love coming where they feel like they want to share things of their day with me. And it's made routine so much easier. Whereas I don't feel like I'm a broken record telling them constantly like, okay, it's time to brush your teeth, or it's time for bed. Okay, you need to go to the bathroom, things like this. And then to the point where I get frustrated, they're doing it when I ask. And that's wonderful. It's making my
Mhm.
job a lot easier as a mom.
So you're a safe person for them. You're more compassionate, understanding, empathetic, lighthearted with them. What else would you add to that?
I'm patient. I'm not rushing them through the in the mornings to get out the door. I'm teaching them family values. I'm teaching them things that are like positive, like stop means stop, and like we're kind to each other. And my daughter, she is so observant, like of what I do. Like she's woken up when I'm doing like my journaling in the morning, and she wants to sit here and do it with me. And she's at times will think of something that she did that was unkind to her brother that made her angry because he made her angry, and she'll draw a picture of what she did that she's not proud of, and then she'll draw another picture of what she should do next time, what she wants to do next time to be kind, and she'll put an X through the bad picture and put a check mark on the right picture so she remembers. So she
Mhm.
can't write full sentences without help, but she can do it through her artwork, which is so cute. And it's very impactful, and it's heartwarming seeing how much I've improved in myself, that it's impacting her and impacting my other kids too.
What a blessing that your kids are seeing you model that and they are repeating the positive things that you are doing. Do you, by any chance, have that letter to yourself that you wrote down in the very beginning of the coaching program?
Yes, I have my letter. It says, "Dear Katy, you are such a good mom. I am so proud of you for taking a leap of faith and getting the support that you needed by enrolling in this Calm Christian Mom program to overcome destructive anger. You identified why you were so easily triggered and quick to anger, often becoming explosive yelling that sometimes led to mama rage and roughness with your littles, that you were unrecognizable and afraid of becoming dad if you continue down this path. Your physical and emotional needs were not being met in the season you were in, being sleep deprived, overwhelmed, and frustrated by your circumstances, and lacking spousal support to function and show up as the mom and wife you hoped you would always be. You acknowledged that you couldn't change your situation or circumstances, nor your family, but that you could be the positive change in your family's life to stop generational anger and learn to repair, restore healthy relationships. I am so thankful that God led you to this program through a parenting podcast you listened to back in March of 2025. I know it took an enormous amount of strength and courage to admit you needed help and sacrifice a significant amount of money, time, and energy into this program because of the love you have for your family. You gained the support you needed with Elizabeth by your side the entire way. Elizabeth has been your cheerleader, encouraging you, holding you accountable with daily journal assignments that allow you to deeply reflect on a situation, identify habits that are not serving you, and change your perspective, mindset in a positive way. You show up in a way that feels good and is God honoring. You know him better, love him more, depend completely on his strength, and understand his faithfulness in a new way. Your selfless act, dedication, determination, and hard work was all worth it, as the price of healthy relationships and well being is immeasurable. Anger no longer has a hold on you. Your past anger never defined you as a person. You were just having a hard time in the season you were in. You remind yourself of what you can control, your effort and your attitude, and that how you show up for your child, how I handle things matters more than anything else. Encourage that God is in control of the outcome of the situation, and his way is the best way. When you wake up in the morning, you feel happier and blessed, knowing that God chose you to be the mom your kids needed. You have more energy, joy, and hope in your heart and home, which is beautiful. You've experienced personal growth and self-awareness and developed better communication skills and modeling healthy behavior that your kids can learn by. You feel better equipped to handle difficult situations and know you can rely on God to lean on for strength and grace, being imperfect. You have a better relationship with your husband after overhearing me be so vulnerable on my initial consultation and now fully understand the mental load that I carry. Your emotional needs are finally being met and you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. We support each other and share the responsibilities of the household so that I don't have to carry all the weight on my own. You are grounded and aligned with who God is calling you to be. You chose to be adaptive in the circumstances you were given. You are lighthearted, quick to listen, slow to respond with compassion towards your family. You are faithful in your efforts and intentional in your attitude. You are safe with your kids and raise them in an environment that encourages grace and truth. Congratulations, Katy, on restoring your joy in motherhood and counting all the blessings in your new beginning.
How do you feel after reading that?
It's like emotional because like I have met a lot of those goals. Still, it's a work in progress with some of it, but I feel better. It's just emotional because of how much, because it just reminds me of like everything I did, sacrifice to just put all my energy into like improving myself, you know.
Thank you for reading that. And I'm honestly really proud of you for showing up for yourself, for the kids, and the work that you've done, and the efforts that you've put in, and the consistency, despite the circumstances still being really hard. So that was a hard summer. It was a hard
Yeah.
spring and a hard summer for you. I think we all go through seasons that are just hard. They're just hard. There's not a lot of things you can do specifically to make it easy, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some things that you can do if you have the financial needs to lighten your load. But again, you're in a position where that was stripped from you right now. So then you're just left with what you have. And there's some things that we can do, and then we reach our limits, and it's like, God, only you can help me in this moment and help me through this because I cannot do this on my strength. And that's where we just fall into the arms of Jesus and we're like, Jesus, only you can help me through this. So I'm so proud of you for doing this. And there will come a time where your circumstances will be easier and they will not be so heavy. There will come a time for that.
I'm waiting for it.
What would you say to the mom listening who feels stuck in anger and wonders if she should take the next step and invest in the program, but she feels scared to do it?
I would say it is scary but you know, you got to take that leap of faith. If you want to be you want the joy of motherhood back in your life. If you envision your life as a mom would be so wonderful and full of hugs and kisses, and that you can share memories with your kids, positive memories, and want to be able to play with them instead of telling them that they're wasting your time or like being unkind to them, being a bully, and it just doesn't feel good, resonate well with you. Or if you find yourself being really rough and you're like throwing them or lifting them up aggressively or spanking them, and that doesn't feel good to you, then I would say this program is worth every penny. I didn't have any support, but this program supported me for 12. Elizabeth, and the women on the calls, they meet you where you're at and they're all struggling with the same thing and you don't feel alone. And if you're hesitant because of the money, Elizabeth said it's going to motivate you to do the task at hand. And consistency with the program, with these reflection questions, you learn so many new things about your brain and just how God can help you through. And it's so life changing and it will rub off on your entire family. Even my husband is picking up on things that I've learned and applying it to my kids. So it's not just affecting my kids. You just know that you'll be breaking generational anger and that they're going to have life skills that will help them through their lives later on in life. It's worth it.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure working with you. And I am so grateful for God bringing you to this program and that you got the support that you needed, and for God to just carry you through this really hard season, this spring and summer for you. You were walking through the valley. You went through really hard challenges, and God carried you through that. And I'm glad that you got the support that you need and you were still able to reach the goals and the results that you came in for. So, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story and giving hope to other moms for transformation.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You're a lifesaver and a godsend, I have to say. I was meant to listen to that podcast that one day.
If this episode really spoke to you, if you really connected with Katy, and right now you currently feel stuck in your cycle of anger, it feels out of control. You've done all the things, you've tried things on your own, and it just feels like it's not moving anywhere. If you have thoughts like, I'm not cut out to do this, I'm a terrible mom, I'm a bad mom, you actually feel internally that way about yourself. If you feel like you are trapped in this role, maybe your husband comes home and you're constantly cranky, moody, you complain about your kids, you're screaming, you are always in a bad mood. And he maybe doesn't even want to come home and be home around you and the kids because things are always chaotic. If it's just a rinse and repeat cycle and you've tried things on your own and nothing is working, I want you to take the uncomfortable and the scary step to book a free consultation call with me. First of all, go in the show notes, learn about my coaching program. If it resonates with you, you have nothing to lose. The program is 100% money back guarantee. You either get the results or you get a full refund at week 12. You got to show up and do the work. And everyone that has done that has seen a transformation in their motherhood. And I know that you can too. So I want to encourage you to take the uncomfortable step. It is scary to admit, hey, I have an issue. It is scary to invest in yourself in that way if you've never done that before. It feels very uncomfortable. And I want to ask you this question. What are things going to be like 5 years from today if nothing changes? If that scares you, then this program is for you. Check out Call Christian Mom Coaching Program, and the next step is to book a free consultation call with me. Let's get on the call. Let's talk about your situation, your circumstance, and if my program is the next best step for you. And if it's not, I'll guide you in the right direction. Okay, friend. Thank you for being here. I cannot wait to connect with you. Until next episode. Mama, before you go, I have to remind you about the 4-day anger management bootcamp happening Monday, September 8th through Thursday, September 11th. If you feel scared of what the next 5 years might look like in your relationships with your kids, if your anger continues to stay reactive, harsh, and out of control, then this bootcamp is for you. In just 4 days, you will learn how to uncover the real root of your anger, build patience so you can respond calmly, rewire those negative automatic thought patterns, and finally start breaking those painful generational anger cycles. Don't let another year go by feeling stuck and ashamed. Join us live on Zoom or catch the replays and start experiencing the transformation God wants for you and your family. Sign up now using the link in the show notes.